This has just been a special kind of season for the Jaguars. Very reminiscent of the run the Jaguars went on back in 1996. It wasn't at the 1996 games, but Frank Frangie was, and we'll bring him in just a second. First, let me kind of set the table of sorts. The parallels between these two seasons run deep. The Jaguars were led by a second-year quarterback, Mark Brunell, back then. They finished the year with 9 wins after going into their bye week 3-6. Sound kind of similar to this season? Well, get this, it gets a little bit deeper. In 1996, they went into the bye week, and after that, they beat the Ravens to kind of jumpstart their season. This year, Jaguars did the exact same thing. They beat the Ravens for their 4th win of the year. Both Jags teams got blown out the very next week. In 1996, it was the Steelers. This year, it was the Lions. But for both teams, that was their last loss of the regular season. Now, that 1996 team made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and that was a truly special underdog run. Now, I'm not saying history's repeating itself, but...
Jacksonville, do you believe in miracles?
All right, Frank, one of the things that we've talked about a few times at this point is that 1996 run. And, you know, it kind of, everybody's always talked about how that 96 run felt magical, and we've compared the seasons a time or two. Do you remember that Bills game from 1996, Frank? Do you remember that one at all?
I was there. I remember it very well. I remember being up there. I remember Clyde Simmons having the big defensive play. Somebody needed to make a play, and Clyde Simmons made the play, Jamal, and got the ball and made a huge defensive play in return. I remember Natron Means started running, and they couldn't stop him. I remember they knocked Jim Kelly out of the game in his last game. I remember it very well. There was a toughness. There was a physicality to him. But somebody on defense had to make a big play, the same thing that happened the other night. Someone on defense has to make a big play, and that's what the Jaguars did. Yeah, so a lot of similarities. You know, you started asking me about the 96 comparison way back when, and I kind of dismissed it at the time. But you were right. It took on that look, didn't it? This absolutely is a season you'll compare to 1996. I think everybody would agree.
Yeah, and that Bills win in the playoffs was a comeback win, correct?
It was a comeback.
See, there's another parallel between these two seasons. And, you know, the next step for the Jaguars that 96 year, they had to go into Denver and upset a team that everyone thought was heading to the Super Bowl. It very looks like the Jaguars now going to the divisional round of the playoffs this year are going to have to go against some sort of juggernaut in the next round where maybe we see history repeat itself one more time. I think after watching this team come up from 27 down, anything's possible, right?
Well, I can tell you this. John Elway then was the equivalent of Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen now. Athletic, big arm, and Denver had the best team in the league. And I was at that game, too. I was in Denver for that game, and I can remember how shocked the people were at Old Mile High Stadium that this little old Jaguars team came in there and beat them. Now, that is the game everybody remembers the big plays. The long scramble by Mark Brunell, where people are still talking about it, and a play or two later, the fade in the left corner to Jimmy Smith. Those are the 2 plays that everybody talks about in those games. But, yeah, it does have a feel. Teams of destiny have a feel, a similar feel to them. Here's what else they have, Jamal. It's not just they're coincidentally similar, but they have the same mental makeup. Once a team starts winning, it's not supposed to win, and then they don't believe they're going to lose, man, that is powerful.